Hey guys, so I am back with another little review, but before I get into it, I did get two pairs of sunglasses, and like I said, if you guys want to see a sunglass collection video or anything like that, just let me know. These are the two, but of course we won't be seeing them until you ask for that video. And now my birthday is next Saturday, so I may hold off again for another week, just dependent on if I get another pair of sunglasses or not. But of course, those are like the two that are mine. And then there are two other pairs, of course, that are kind of like, not mine, but they are mine. But, you'll all see like every sunglass basically if you ask for that video or you like this video or comment down below that you want to see it. But let's get into this review. So, today's review is going to be on a men's fragrance. I know I typically don't really review men's fragrances, but it looks like they are somewhat well received, so I was thinking maybe I'll get into it. And if you kind of wonder, like, if I tend to, like, look to the left a little on this video, Fear the Walking Dead is on, so, like, I never, like, saw this, so I'm kind of, like, interested in it. I'm like, ooh, I'm like, what's going on, you know? Never seen it. But anyways, back into this. So, men's review fragrance. There is a new fragrance that has come out by this house or designer or brand that is CK Into You. Now, I am thinking about getting that fragrance because I guess that would be like the CK1 2.0 almost, for this generation. Don't know how it smells. I've seen it at Macy's, but I haven't smelled it. So, basically, CK1 Shock, the one that I'm reviewing today, is described as one of the most successful fragrances from Calvin Klein is CK1, the citrus unisex fragrance from 1984. CK1 Shock is the surprise for all the fans of CK1 line. It is not a unisex edition, but two separate oriental compositions. CK1 Shock for her and CK1 Shock for him. CK1 Shock for him is built around aromatic, spicy, and deep oriental nuances. It opens with citrusy clementine, fresh cucumber, and energy drink accord. The heart of black pepper, black basil, cardamom is placed on the base of masculine tobacco, musk, patchouli, and amberine wood. Available as 50 and 100 ml eau de toilette, shower gel deodorant, aftershave lotion. CK1 Shock for him was launched in 2011, and this was created by Anne Gottlieb and IFF. So, I bought this fragrance at Perfumania when I think I got it on like a clearance sale or something like that. I'm looking at the price right now on Perfumania because I had to like look up because I'm like, maybe this would help you guys. Because from other things that I've seen in like red, people have described this as like a kind of a weak, almost cherry tobacco fragrance, and they're like, oh, for like an EDT eau de toilette, they're like, it kind of has that weak longevity, but it kind of like does, kind of the job for the price that you pay for. And I know when I first got this, when I smelled it, I was kind of like, this isn't like a strong scent. Like, it's a strong, comes off as strong, almost like the Elizabeth and James Nirvana fragrances, the black and white, more leaning towards the black fragrance. It kind of has that like kind of strong, warm, musky, creamy sweetness to it, but it doesn't last long, And I think that is very well what happens with this fragrance. I never tried the CK1 Shock for her, so I don't really know how that fragrance works out, but for CK1 Shock for him, it is $21.59 at Perfumania. I'm looking at it right now online. It used to be $52. I don't believe I paid $52, like I said. And what they say here is, of course, launched by designer house Calvin Klein 2011. And here they also say that it has Red Bull Accord, which is that like energy drink Accord, which to me I was kind of like Red Bull Accord. Like I never got the smell of Red Bull from it, but of course I've never like smelled Red Bull, so of course I really won't know what that really smells like. I'm just gonna go based off of like a Monster or something like that. That kind of has like this almost Mountain Dew, 7-Up's bright kind of scent to it. Probably not 7-Up, because 7-Up is like more of a sweeter scent. But CK1 Shock for him does have that sweet accord to it. And I'd probably say if you have like CK1 Euphoria Intense, Sofia Vergara's Love, I'm looking at all my fragrances if you're wondering. And you kind of think of those thicker, sweeter, creamier scents, but then you pair it with either Taylor Swift's Incredible Things, possibly Kim Kardashian's True Reflection, a little bit of Taylor Swift Wonderstruck. It has that thick, creamy sweetness to it, and then if you add kind of that more airier, oriental, spicier, peppery kind of smells, that's kind of along the lines that you're looking at. But of course, like CK1 Euphoria Intense, CK1 Shock is more of a sweeter scent. And I'd probably say it'd probably be well like combined with like Paco Rabanne's 1 Million, What other sweet scents? Kind of Sean John's Unforgivable was kind of a sweet scent in itself. Kind of remind me like a sweet leather almost, but back to this fragrance, like I said, it was described like a cherry tobacco on one site that I was reading, and I was kind of like, cherry tobacco. I said I never really got like a strong tobacco-y smell, especially like a sweet, almost tobacco smell, as opposed to Versace Eros for Men, which I have reviewed, because that one to me kind of smells like sweet cigarettes. Not, I mean, you're not going to smell like a CK1 Euphoria Intense sweet, but it's just as a sweetness to it from the chocolate in there. But I think the overpowering smell of that cigar-y tobacco smell is present, as opposed to CK1 Shock for Him. Now, CK1 Shock for Him. If you've ever owned I'm pretty sure when I bought CK1 that the same thing kind of was like, it has a twist top that like you top the bottle off, and then like this part, like the atomizer and everything comes separate, so you like screw this on. Now mine was a little like messed up, so if you can see, like it never like squirted down all the way, and I don't know, sometimes like it never like squirts like a spray, like it sometimes just shoots as a stream, and then you gotta like, like kind of rub it in a little, so I don't know. Of course, that was only with this bottle, like it was messed up, but I think it was like the only bottle they had when I bought it back then. So there it is, CK1 Shock for Him. It has like this, I'd probably say this classic thing, and then like the shock is like the new age kind of thing that they're going for, like for the, I guess the younger generation and stuff like this. And some people also describe this also like a body spray and stuff like that, because it does have a weak concentration. And when I get into the fragrance, let me show you how much it sprays. Okay, that one was kind of more of a spray, but sometimes it tends to leak a little. Now, if you've ever smelled a Hava's mineral body hand cream, and sometimes the body cream, there is that lingering scent to it. But now when someone said cherry tobacco, I think I kind of smell what they're smelling. It's kind of like a cherry wood smell. Like you've ever been in like, I'd probably say somewhat like of a Masonic lodge almost, where they have like that old wooden kind of smell to the building. And then you have the mix of like kind of a sweet smelling cigar. I think that's where the cherry tobacco reference comes from. And again, of course yours will spray better than mine does. Mine just has like a wonky kind of like thing to it. So I don't know, I'd probably say it's similar to like a sweet oil. And when I say sweet oil, I know Nicki Minaj described her scent Pink Friday as like very like sensual, and kind of had like an oil smell to it. And now when we say oil smells to it, that means it's very thick, it's very pungent, but somehow it does embody that creaminess. Like I think it's like kind of envelops more senses than like just the sense of smell. And that's like if you've ever smelled something, I guess, so much you can kind of taste it, or like you say, this tastes like whatever smells like. Kind of like that. I don't know if you've ever had that, but I feel like this is one of those kinds of fragrances. And I will say, this kind of does land into like the Love by Sofia Vergara, CK1, Euphoria Intense, and Nicki Minaj's Pink Friday, where they just have that overwhelmingly creamy aspect to them, which is not bad, but it just very much is an empowering, thick fragrance, which I think does last either really long or kind of just doesn't really last. Because you can have something like Fantasy by Britney Spears, which is kind of similar to CK1 Euphoria's Intense, but it just has more of an airy, peppery note to it. Now this one, they say it's spicy and deep oriental nuances and it's aromatic, but when they bring in such as citrusy clementine, fresh cucumber, and energy drink accord, again, I feel, yes, those are there, but don't expect like a peppery top note from like your Britney Spears Fantasy. Don't expect something kind of like that bamboo smell of like Katy Perry's Purr, or anything like Versace Eros for Men. I will say it's very much going to be a thick, creamy smell. And that's what I've always liked about this fragrance, is that it's thick, it's very sweet. It kind of reminds me of like a sweet, leathery smell again. But like I said, if you've ever thought about like being like those Masonic lodges, like that old cherry wood, that dark red wood, that kind of a smell, but then also like sweet tobacco kind of lingering around it, that is what this fragrance kind of smells like. It smells very like I think what the CK1 brand kind of goes for, where you kind of have like guys in like a leather jacket, and like a white shirt, you know, kind of like that CK kind of look. I feel like this truly does embody like the house of CK. Um, when they say black pepper, black basil, and cardamom, like again, I feel like the pepper notes are not really gonna come out in this fragrance. The pepper notes are not gonna be something that you're gonna smell consistently. They're gonna be there, but you're not gonna like pick it up like Britney Spears Fantasy and be like, there's a pepper note in there, you know? Like this one's gonna take more of like smelling it, like sniffing it, experimenting with it, see how it plays in different temperatures. People say they like to wear this in the wintertime. Some people say they like to wear it when it's a little bit hotter. I mean, I wear fragrances whenever, but I feel if you spray it around the wintertime, I feel like you're always gonna have that thicker, sweeter kind of leathery wood smell as opposed to sometime in the summer where those peppery notes may kind of come out a little just because it is a bit warmer. You know, you kind of have the sun and then you also have your own body heat. And as the scent evaporates a little bit faster, of course, each note is kind of gonna be a little bit more intensified, so you will pick up on, like, let's say, the fresh cucumber and maybe like the Red Bull cord on it. And also that black pepper and black basil because those almost fall into like kind of the ginger and patchouli qualities. Of course, they are totally different tangents where let's say ginger is a very sweet kind of like a, well, not sweet, but more like a sweet, tarty, kind of sour, bittery smell that you kind of smell like a Rihanna Rebelle kind of fragrance. But then also you do have patchouli, which is more of an earthy, dirtier fragrance. And when I say dirtier and earthy, like it just kind of smells like what dirt smells like. I don't really know how else to explain it. But if you ever smell Rihanna Rebelle, just kind of think of those notes, but very, very subtle and kind of sweetened. Probably maybe by the Red Bull Accord and like the citruses and the cucumbers. And now, when they say fresh cucumber, don't expect like a Paris Hilton kind of smell, you know, where you kind of have that like cucumber melon smell. You're really not going to pick that up as opposed to spraying maybe like the Adam Levine for men and of course like the Paris Hilton for men. Like those ones I think would be very, very strong, like a top, fresher, airier note. Where this one is very, 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 very heavy on like tobacco, musk, patchouli, and the amberine wood. And you know, like the black pepper, black basil, cardamom are there kind of like to add to that, like that's how I guess the metaphor of like the wood, but like that sweet tobacco kind of lingering on top of the wood. I would probably say it embodies like a musk of a fragrance. It's not really like a fresh sprayed on fragrance, but more or less kind of like a fragrance that has already worn, but it's still there close to the skin. And I think with the CK brand, you kind of have that like closeness to you. You know, it's very intimate. It's very kind of like sensual. It's kind of a low-key embracing one's sexuality and expressing that at the same time. And with like Red Bull Accord, like again going off of like a Mountain Dew smell or like monsters and stuff, I really don't think it kind of shows up. I really feel like that's probably very, 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 very light that they added to it. But again, as the scent evolves, I really think you're probably going to be left with like a tobacco-y, musk, sweet fragrance. And with clementine, I feel like you're really not going to smell any citrus in this fragrance. Like, it's there, and you can feel it, because citruses and like woods, especially like with Dolce & Gabbana, I think light blue for men, it kind of has that like citrusy sandalwood. Like it is there, but it's not really like the whole like top note of the fragrance. Like it's not gonna hit you like bam. Like it's gonna be a subtle citrusy sandalwood scent placed upon like that cherry tobacco smell. And going into with those fragrances, I feel like this one is built a little bit more on like a base note, but I feel like it wasn't so heavy on like your base note. So it's not gonna last as long. It's probably gonna give you about maybe 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours. Again, that may be me being too generous to the fragrance, but I really do think it's not gonna last like, let's say 8 to 10 hours plus, or maybe 10 hours plus, because I know from reading a lot of like reviews and stuff like that, they do say that CK1 Shock, it's kind of like a more intense body spray. Like I'd probably say like Bod for Men Shock, you know? That's what I'm thinking about this fragrance, because it doesn't really last as long on clothing or on the skin. And I do love this fragrance, but I really don't think it's something that like you expect for like a, like, let's say if you have a really important date or meeting or something like that, I really don't think this is going to be the scent that's going to carry throughout the whole day. Like you have like a really long day plan, as opposed to something like CK1 Euphoria Intense, where that scent is not only as intense when you spray it on, but it's kind of intense in its longevity. And if you do want to see a review on that one or the regular Euphoria, I do have those. But I think for CK1 Shock, I do think this is more aimed at like maybe the male individual who's around like 16 to probably like 27, 28. I feel like 30, it's kind of like, pick and choose, you know, because they probably evolve onto the higher tiered fragrances in the CK1 brand and such like that. But I really do think this was aimed at the younger audience, and of course, like, the commercial for this one kind of had them all, like, running around and stuff like that. Kind of reminded me of, like, a Demi Lovato Cool for the Summer kind of a fragrance. But I do say, smelling it on my arm still, I really don't think you're going to get that much of a, like, a cucumber, Red Bull Accord, and, like, your black peppers and your basils. Like, I feel like they're all too mixed, but the most overpowering, like, scent notes in this fragrances, again, are, like, your Tabasco, musk, patchouli, amberine wood scents, but with those, like, kind of aromatic, spicy kind of cherry wood smells. So, again, if you've ever, like, smelled, like, just an old building that was made of wood and, like, the smell of the tobacco around the room, like, that is what you are smelling kind of consistently throughout the fragrance, and it is very sweet and creamy, but it's not a vanilla creamy scent. So again, think of like a spicy cherry wood kind of a smell, but just that added like kind of incense smell, like almost a thick oil smell. So again, like this is thick, it's sweet, but it's not overpoweringly sweet and thick, and you're not gonna have like a very strong pepper accord as opposed to Fantasy by Britney Spears. You're not gonna smell like a cucumber melony kind of a smell from, like, let's say something like Adam Levine's for men or Paris Hilton's for men. So if you kind of have an idea of what CK1 Euphoria Intense smells like, let's say this is like the more younger version of it, and of course a little bit more sweetened and not as pungent, not as heavy, and the sillage isn't as strong because, you know, with younger people, they kind of like, it's kind of like that thing where like, oh, that's like an old person musky, like very strong smell, and like young people's scents are very like airy, they kind of don't last as long. I feel like this is very, very, very well into the category of a younger man. Of course, no matter what age, if you love the fragrance, wear it, but I do think, like, as the brand was aiming to release this fragrance, I do think this was aimed at the younger audience. And sillage, again, I feel it's not something that everybody in the room is gonna smell, but probably like two or three people over. Like, I feel like this would probably be like for like the younger guy who's like out networking or socializing, like maybe at like a little club or like a bar or something like that, or maybe you've got like a little meetup with a friend or something, and like someone's gonna pick you up and you're gonna like go somewhere. Like, I feel like this is like that kind of a guy fragrance, like I say, like that bod CK1 Shock or something like that. Like, it's something just very quick as a refreshing smell. It'll last you a bit, you know, like that 5 hour, 6 hour, you know, maybe 4, or you're just out and about doing like quick things. But like, if you're gonna have like a night out with your guys or something, like this scent really is gonna hold up and it's not gonna last as long, and like not a lot of people are going to smell it. And again, maybe it is a very close to skin scent, which is that sensuality of sexuality that CK kind of embraces with like the My CKs or this and like the underwear campaigns and stuff. So again, I'd probably say maybe 4 to 6 hours, probably 5 is probably going to cut it down the middle. And longevity sillage, probably like about 2 to 3 people over for the first, probably say 30 to 45 minutes. And it's not going to last you a long time. You're not going to smell those Red Bull Accords. You're not really going to get like a very strong peppery top note. You're not going to get like a very strong citrusy, but you are going to have those like elements of like Dolce & Gabbana light blue for men, but it's going to be hidden under that cherry tobacco smell. And again, I keep going to that tobacco smell because I do feel this one does have that sweet tobacco-y incense oil smell that kind of is embodied in Nicki Minaj's Pink Friday. So if you've ever smelled Pink Friday by Nicki Minaj, you will kind of get that oily smell, and it is very thick and it is very sensual. So again, that was my review on CK1 Shock. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, of course, leave them down below. If you want to see other fragrance reviews, please tell me what you want to see and such like that. And I mean, if you haven't seen the review of my Versus by Versace watch, please watch those, and how I got all these other rings and such like that, and Skulls on Fire jewelry by Taylor and Hasselhoff. So again, that was my review on CK1 Shock. So top it all off, 5 hours, 2 to 3 people over, you'll kind of smell it for the first hour at most. Then it starts to die down, kind of stays consistent in the way it evolves over time. Again, sweet cherry tobacco wood smell with the dash of Dolce & Gabbana's light blue for men, kind of citrusy sandalwood, and I guess that is overall kind of the life of the fragrance in general. So if you are looking for it, again, at Perfumania, it is $21.59 for the 3.4 ounce. And that is like their everyday low price. So if you want to try this out, if you kind of just want this for like, you know, to go, you want to put it in your backpack, if you're in college or something, you're like a guy who just kind of wants just a fragrance to kind of just like, you know, lighten things up or something like that, pick this up. You know, it's only like gonna be what, $23, probably close to with tax or wherever you live, I don't know. But again, that was my review on CK1 Shot for Men by Calvin Klein Eau de Toilette. So anywho, I want to say hi to Rami Malek and stay safe and God bless. Mr. Robot Season 2 is coming up very soon, and you can pre-order, I think, the soundtrack for Mr. Robot, and as well you can buy, you know, Season 1 on DVD or Blu-ray at Target, or I want to say Best Buy, and, you know, obviously online at Amazon, like, I guess the USA store and such like that. So get ready for Mr. Robot Season 2. So again, any other fragrance reviews or any other fragrances that you want to see, please tell me. If I do have them, I will try to review them and everything like that. And if you want to see sunglass collection videos, please leave it down below in the comments. So again, I want to say hi to Rami Malek and stay safe and God bless you guys. Hi, Rami Malek.